If you want to learn how to tie a flawless gathering knot, then stay tuned to find out how. Hi everyone, it's Nicole here and welcome to BOCHIKNOT Macrame and another tutorial from our macrame knots and knot pattern series. We are going back to the basics with this particular knot, the gathering knot. The gathering knot is a super important knot that you will find in many macrame projects. When you're looking to gather cords together under a ring to make a macrame plant hanger, or under a keychain to secure the ends, or to make tassels, just to name a few, you would need to use the gathering knot. Although the gathering knot looks simple to make, there are some tips and tricks to it that can help you make it better. For example, how to make it more tight so it doesn't come apart as easily, and also how to make a nice and neat gathering knot, especially on the front side if you are looking at it from that direction most of the time. We will be going over these things, so make sure you watch all the way through to the end. If you guys are interested in learning more knots and knot patterns, make sure you guys follow our macrame knots and knot pattern series playlist. And you can also check out a free downloadable 50 knots and sentence ebook on BOCHIKNOT.com. And with that said, let's get right into it. To demonstrate this knot, I've gathered several strands of cord here that I'm going to make a few gathering knots on. So you can gather as many cords as you want for the anchor cords inside the gathering knot. I have about 6 strands of cord here that I'm going to gather in the center with another strand of cord that we're going to use as the working cord for the gathering knot. I'm going to show you a very basic way of making the gathering knot with a shorter strand of cord at about 30 centimeters long. So to start off the gathering knot, you take your working cord and you make a loop like this on one end. Now the size of your gathering knot will matter here on the size of the loop. If you're making a smaller gathering knot like I am for this pattern, then you're only going to make a smaller loop so that the gathering knot sits right in between. If you're making a larger gathering knot, then you will need to make a larger loop so that you still have a loop at the bottom to thread your cord through once you have wrapped your cord end around. So now we're going to take that longer cord end, take it through the right side to the back and then to the front, and we're going to wrap this cord around a few times. Now if you want a nice and neat gathering knot, you do want to keep the knot as tight as possible, and also make sure that when you're wrapping the cord around that you wrap it directly underneath the row from above so that there's no overlapping. Once we're done wrapping it around, thread the cord end through the loop at the bottom and then pull on the top end to tighten the knot. If you do want to make sure that the gathering knot is nice and tight, you do want to make sure that the loop end at the bottom is hidden underneath the gathered cords. So you do want to pull it so that that loop end is right underneath the gathered cords, bringing the working cord end underneath as well. And we have now made a small version of the gathering knot. And now I'm going to go over a larger version of the gathering knot and some other things that you should pay attention to when making the gathering knot. One thing you want to pay attention to when making the gathering knot is where the front of the gathering knot is. So if you look at the small gathering knot up at the top, you see that it is nice and neat with 3 rows of cord. And then when you look at the back, that's where you can see where the cord ends were tucked through. So if you had to choose a side of the gathering knot that you like better, that you want to show front facing, then you have to start the gathering knot at the back, like I am here. So to start the gathering knot, make a loop with one end. So as you can see, this time I'm using a slightly longer cord because I'm going to be making a larger gathering knot. And so you can see also that the loop I'm making is larger as well. So continue wrapping the long cord end around several times. Make sure every time you wrap the cord end around that you pull on the cord end tightly so that it is nice and snug up against the anchor cords. This is super important if you are making something that requires really tight knots so that the cords inside are held in place. So for example, if you're making something like a plant hanger or like a cat bed, you do want to pay attention to the gathering knots and have them as tight as possible so that they don't come apart easily. And then once we're done, place the cord end through the loop at the bottom, and then again pull on the cord end at the top so that the bottom ends are tucked underneath the gathering knot. Once you have pulled the bottom loop underneath the center of the gathering knot, now you are complete with the gathering knot and you can cut off the excess cords. And there you have it, a nice and neat gathering knot. And that concludes our step-by-step gathering knot tutorial. I really hoped you guys like going back to the basics with this one. Hopefully by watching this tutorial you would have learned a new tip or two to help improve the gathering knot if you already know it. If you guys enjoy knot tutorials like this, make sure you let me know in the comment section below. And don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and click that subscribe button to stay tuned to our latest macrame tutorials. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.